Welcome to the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, and we got a lot to talk about today. So just informing everybody on TikTok that we will be taking and answering questions and comments after we cover the topics of the show, which should take 10 to 20 minutes. And then we'll also let people come on, debate on these topics, have conversations on these topics for the rest of the show. But each topic should take about, a few minutes to go over. And so I want to start off with what's going on right now in some public schools, I believe in the UK, and what's going on in Canada. This is this new trend taking place. So as you can see, schools feeding kids bugs. So in Welsh school, pupils offered bugs as alternative protein source. From schools in Wales, will be 4 schools in Wales will be offering primary school pupil bugs as an alternative protein source in a project directed to ascertain children's attitude towards environmentally friendly foods. And this is being conducted by a university, and they're targeting children 5 to 11 with this experiment of plant-based and insect-based protein. And so they're trying to understand exactly the attitude of specifically the Western culture towards these alternative sources of protein. And they want to get the teachers' attitude as well. And they want to also, what's wrong with eating bugs? We'll get to that. So nobody's making a claim that there's anything wrong with eating bugs. So they are pushing this narrative that having insect farms is going to be better for the environment because they have a smaller carbon footprint, they consume less water, and they are cheaper to maintain overall as opposed to larger animals, right? And the other argument is many cultures have been eating bugs for a long time, and you can go back to hunter-gatherer days, and humans have been eating bugs for quite some time. So the question then is, why is this a bad thing? Well, it's a bad thing because this is a push towards getting rid of animal-based meats, animal-based products, which are the most optimal thing for a human diet based on our physiology and our biology. And they're targeting 5 to 11-year-olds because they have to start with the kids to program this into them, because as somebody rightfully stated in the comment section that in the United States, eating bugs isn't a part of our diet. 100% correct. But how do you change the diet? Well, you target the youth. And the perfect way to target the youth is through the public school systems, where the parents are giving up their responsibility and giving it to an institution. And so their children will become under this influence of the institution, and then their authority, the authority figures will say, if you're a good person, you will then consider eating this fake meat or these bugs. And that to me is exactly what a form of grooming is. It's preparing the minds of individuals of younger generations to switch over to a diet that doesn't fit into their culture. Now, let's talk about the other cultures that have bugs in their diet and why hunter-gatherers. Yes, nobody's saying that public school food is good to begin with. The argument I'm making here is it's brainwashing children into totally disregarding animal-based meats. That's the argument I'm making here. And so, as far as other cultures and hunter-gatherers eating bugs, well, they did that when they couldn't find actual meat to eat. So it wasn't the primary source of protein. It was, and also there's this big misconception that with meat, you're getting protein from it solely. In reality, meat is where you will be getting most of your nutrition. Fact, most of your vitamins, everything that you need can be found in an animal-based diet. And it's a good thing that you can't get your grandson to eat broccoli, because broccoli is unnatural and it's very, very bad for you. It's not good whatsoever. It's a falsehood to think that vegetables are good for you. Humans cannot digest vegetables. And so this is why it's also bad, because you're forcing this unnatural diet onto children who will soak it up because children are so receptive to it. And right now, Canada is pledging, a Canadian company is pledging to produce 2 billion bugs per year for human consumption. For human consumption. Yeah, look at the shape of my teeth. I got canine teeth, man. I got canine teeth. Got 2 of them right here. Got 4. Right? We're supposed to eat meat. We're supposed to eat animal-based products. And so basically they're preparing the youth of today to go off of raw-based foods. Dude, you have canine teeth. Why do you have canine teeth? And why is it that your digestive tract is the same as a dog's, and a dog is carnivorous? It's the same as a cat. Cats are carnivorous as well. We are not omnivores. We are not. This is a falsehood. Humans are carnivores. Every animal animal right now eats both things. They eat grains and they eat meat. Your herbivores, they're going to eat meat. They do. Fact. Look it up. Humans, do we eat some fruits? Yeah, we do. That doesn't make us a herbivore. I'm sorry, an omnivore. Omnivore is 50-50. We don't do that. Humans get most of their nutrition from animal-based products. That's where the bulk of it goes. So, this is what's taking place with the whole insect thing and the plant-based diet. They're trying to corrupt the youth even more, make them weaker. They're already getting a bunch of jabs, right? They're already telling the youth to get a bunch of jabs. And then guess what? Don't eat the meat. Don't eat the food that makes you strong and makes you a human. No. Eat the food that makes you a soy boy transhumanist. That's what it is. That's what it is. Please explain the billion vegetarian Hindus. Yeah, they're wrong. They're wrong. It's biological. This isn't even debatable. Like, if we get into this debate, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. So, kids eating artichokes equals Masonic plot. I never claimed a specific faction causing this thing. Never once did that. There's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of different the factions of elites that are in control of these things, and they sometimes align with one another. Who is this faction then, bro? There's multiple. I don't know all of them. You don't know all of them. If we knew them, they wouldn't be in their position of power. Like, we know some of them, but we don't know all of them. It's insane to think that we should know all of them. Name some. Well, there's the Jesuits. There's the Masons. There's the big nose small hats. There's the quote unquote Illuminati. There's the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. There's a bunch of them. Okay. There's a bunch of them, and many others that we have no clue who they are. How are they wrong? I mean, go look at their country, man. Just go look at their country. Not anti-Catholicism. Well, yeah, the Catholics. Yeah, the Catholics are definitely a part of it. There's Christian organizations that are a part of this. There's Hindu organizations that are a part of this. There's a bunch. There's too many to name. But that is what's going on with the food. Now, I do see that we have a guest request to come in. It's just fun 22. We'll let you in here once we cover all the topics. Definitely not that. I think that they are a very, very, very smart people. They definitely get what it means to support your community, which, if you listen to anything that we say here on MOT Media, we're all about supporting community. The big nose small hats, they get that. They're like, yo, We are going to stand with our brothers. That's why they own Hollywood. That's why they run the financial institutions. It's because they get it. They get it. They get it. And I think that more people should be like that. Well, because I can't say the word on here. Tell TikTok to not be so sensitive with names and calling things out, and then I'll say it. We have to speak in code on here. Hence why I'm saying big nose, small hat. Plus, everybody knows who I'm talking about, so obviously it's true. Obviously it's true what I'm saying because everybody knows who I'm referring to. All right? I wish no ill will upon them whatsoever. I hope that they do well. So, anyway, that's what's going on with the food. That's what's going on with the food in Canada and other public institutions. And we're going to be seeing that coming to America for sure. Now, let's go on to the next topic. Ukraine pimps America. So Zelensky, the Ukrainian government has been getting like $58 billion from the United States now for not consistently that same amount of money, but over a period of time, they've received $58 billion. And now Zelensky demands $5 billion from NATO, cites Europe, security in Europe. So this was one of his quotes at the meeting that they had. Where was this meeting at? At Madrid? Was it Madrid? At the NATO summit in Madrid, yeah. So here's one of his quotes. It's either urgent aid to Ukraine sufficient. It's either urgent aid to Ukraine sufficient for victory, or a delayed war between Russia and you. But they can't win. Ukraine can't win. They've already lost. There's no way. I mean, there's even articles coming out now that the Biden administration saying we just need to stop supporting them. Like Ukraine isn't getting their territory back. Maybe we have some negotiation talks and have some settlement. There's some private conversations going on with that. There's also NATO who flip-flopped on this as well. They were like, they're never getting their territory back. And then they were like, well, now we're going to add 400,000 troops on the ready. And now the United States is like, yo, we're going to put people in Poland. We're going to put military members in Poland. So Zelensky's over here begging for money when they already lost the war. And as I've stated many times, we're using what's taking place right now as a scapegoat. As a scapegoat. That's it. That's it for the economy, for the struggle that we're in at the moment. We're using the war as a scapegoat. In part, I think there's three main things why you're in the war right now. That's what I think. Scapegoat for the economy. The United States and the Western countries wanted to have control of Ukraine for proximity to Russia and also the minerals. I made the other point yesterday. I can't remember the third point that I had off the top of my head. So it flees me, but go back to yesterday's episode and I listed those several times. So that's how Ukraine's doing that. And then we'll go into China and NATO. So China warns against Asian NATO. So NATO has invited Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand for the first time to a NATO summit. And China's like, yo, don't go doing that because you're just going to increase tensions. But NATO is saying, we're not trying to do that. We just want to keep stability in the region, which is certainly not the case because they've been the main provocateurs of the war. The Pope has even said this. Anybody with eyes to see knows that it was started because NATO broke an agreement that they had with Russia for years. And now one has to wonder, since we're giving out all this support to Taiwan for years, is NATO going to be asking Taiwan to join? And then if they do that, well, we know where that's going. The United States loses war to Russia and China. I think that the country that invaded are more provocative. But why did they invade? Which is the reason why. It's exactly what I just said, because they had the Minsk agreement, which stated that Ukraine would not be NATO would not be encroaching, on Russian territory anymore. They broke that agreement. And so Russia did what they do, and they defended. Right, NATO messed up, but Russia didn't have to invade. They did because NATO broke their agreement. They broke their contract. And so in order to preserve their territory, because the ultimate goal is for them it was defensive. It literally was defensive. Fact. So they can invade and attack regular people. Okay, makes sense. They're not attacking regular people. You have to see that Ukraine is doing authentic, I have to be careful on how I word this. Their territory wasn't being invaded. Well, there's been genocides going on in the eastern half of Ukraine for quite some time. Russian speakers have been stating that they want to be with Russia on the eastern half of Ukraine for a long time. And they're not attacking regular people. They're attacking military bases. The Ukrainian army is attacking regular people. They are. They're doing coordinated, unauthentic events. So the U.S. can send them money. Ukraine loves us. Yeah, they do. A mall in Ukraine. No, it didn't. Look it up. What got hit was a ammunition depot, not the mall. An ammunition depot got hit. Listen, guys, an ammunition depot got hit, not the mall. It did. Fact. It did. Fact. Anybody who doesn't know that and is still thinking that it's the mall is wrong. And also, Russia said that Ukraine would be doing some unauthentic events like 3 days prior. Guys, you're listening to Western news, and Western news is the biggest liars. You get more reliable news from Russian news, fact, than you do Western news. I read all kinds of news. A lie, in fact. NPR pulls on your heartstrings. You Americans just don't understand. Russia is worse than ours. No, they're not. They're not. They're not at all. They're not at all. Russia is pretty based. They really are. So is China. The United States, we're like moving the goalpost every week on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. At least over in Russia and China, they're consistent. Delusional. Russia is bad. Putin is authoritarian. There's nothing wrong with authoritarianism. It's been the longest form of government in humanity, in human history. It's been the longest lasting form of government in human history. It's the most stable form of government in human history. It is not bad. It isn't. You lost me here. We had news like Russia. Your argument is fleeting like your hairline. I don't know why people say my hairline is fleeting. Like, dude, I got a head full of luscious hair. Stable isn't good. Stable is good. Consistency is good. Authoritarianism can be good. I'm not saying it's good all the time. Why are there revolutions against? There typically isn't. This is a relatively new thing. And then what comes about after the revolutions? Democracy and republics, which don't last very long, a couple hundred years, a few hundred years. They don't last very long. No society can be stable when you have famines. It doesn't matter your governmental structure. So, kings, monarchies have been the most stable form of government throughout human history. And it's the most, in my opinion, natural form of government because people want one leader. Has collapsed internally. Yes, and they're easily manipulated. And also with an authoritarian regime, it's easier to find out who's corrupt. Whereas in the system we have right now, you have to go through a spider web to find out who's corrupt. Anyway, so that's what's going on with those 3 points. One last one that I just wanted to briefly cover, and then anybody that wants to join in, please send your guest request, and we'll do it. I'm saying, name me a democracy that has collapsed internally. The United States. The United States is collapsing internally. Rome was a republic, I believe. The United States has become a democracy. It has. It was originally a republic. Yeah, democracies don't work very well. They don't work very well at all. The ideal, the one world government is coming, which means the rapture is near. I don't believe in the rapture. We are not a democracy. Kind of are now. The U.S. still exists as a nation right now. What is the American culture, my man? Like, where are the... So let me show you how the United States does not exist as a nation. When you go over to Japan and you get your citizenship in Japan, do you become Japanese? Can you become Japanese when you get your citizenship in Japan? No, because Japan still has a nation. That's what nations are, the people. Not the sand, not the dirt, not the lines. Exactly. Captain, I'm not even going to say your name. I don't know why you have that name. I mean, it's weird. The rapture will happen, so deal with it. Okay. So you're saying the U.S. isn't a nation because it's multiracial? No. The U.S. has lost its nation. Like, its people are so confused. They don't know what they stand for. They don't. There's no cohesion in the United States. It's totally divided, totally fragmented. Who win this war, Ukraine or Russia? How do you think? Russia, for sure. For sure. Yeah, the United States is so fragmented. When you come to a stop, you get off. No rapture, LOL, heresy. Yeah, I mean, that's a new theology. It's not even that old. If you have a citizenship, you bear the name of the people of that nation. No, you don't. So you tell me you go over to China, you get a citizenship over in China, you're now Chinese? That's insane. It's insane. So because people have options, they're not considered a nation? No, I'm saying that the United States, like, what nation are we? Our government's so fragmented. Our people are so fragmented. There's no cohesion. What do you identify with as an American? It's anything. You can make it anything. And I mean, yes, America is a nation. It should be a nation, but it is collapsed, is what I'm saying. It's divided. It once was a nation, but it's collapsed. No, it's not. It's not. Different views are good, but different views are different than trying to integrate multiple cultures. Totally different. Two different things. And yes, some celebrities are for, indeed, true. Like, they're way different things. All major governments are taking over, same team. When America goes abroad, they're known as Americans. Exactly. When they go abroad. Yeah, exactly. Too much is bad. Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's not bad to have different ideas, but when we're talking about combining cultures and nations, then you're just getting rid of a nation. Funny, the Americans are sympathetic to Ukraine while the occupiers of my country, Iraq. Hey, I don't think that we should be in Iraq. I really don't. I'm for the Muslims. The Muslims are extremely based. I think that a lot of Christians can learn a lot about what the Muslims are doing right now. Fact. I would identify as an Islamo-Christian. I don't agree at all. America is pretty cohesive in a lot of things. Like what? Like what? But literally, that's the whole thing. hang on, let me go back, that makes us what we are. No, what makes America what we are, what we were, is the pioneer spirit, to go out and build and pave our own ways, to not have kings, to be the authors of our own lives. That was the American way. Not that like you're against authority by not having kings, but you questioned authority and you paved your own way. That is what America stood for. That's what America was. But now we have none of that. We just don't. Yeah, exactly. The point, their identity is being American. People saying America has a culture is so weird. So what? So that's the point. What is the American culture? I mean, I just told you what it used to be, what it should be, what it can still be for some people. But as the nation, as the United States, it's so fragmented and divided. There's no cohesion. There's no consistency in it. And that's the sign of a fallen empire. That's a sign of a fallen nation. It is. We totally lost this country. We did. The Russian-Ukrainian war will last forever. It won't, but it's the prerequisite to World War III. I think that we're in World War III right now. The country was founded by people from all different countries, but they were all European. And most of them came from one particular country at first. And the cultures over there really meshed well. I mean, they were all under one empire at one time. So there was a lot of overlap in their cultural beliefs. There was a lot more cohesion, but it wasn't the same thing. Like, that's also way different than being like, well, they come from different countries and you're saying like, I'm Puerto Rican, right? So let's say it's way different to be like, well, the nation was made by a bunch of Puerto Ricans and Chinese people. Like, that's just weird. It does, like, you wouldn't have the cohesion. America considers themselves as America went abroad. Yeah, violence, our language, our food. I'm not going abroad, saying my original ethnicity. Literally, the country was made for people escaping authoritarians. That is the main narrative, yeah, and there's some truth to that. Like I said, America, the spirit is to be the author of your own life. Well, have a bigger say in your life than you used to, and let God, still be the author, but ultimately you would have a lot more say in that. Literally, the country, okay, you are an American, you live in a bubble, so you don't know it work in other countries. I don't know what that has to do with anything. It's upside, sideways, our free speech, our loud voices. You don't really have free speech. You don't have free speech. Free speech is a myth. We've always been a democratic republic. Our sports teams, our celebrities, those are all facades and idols. Like that's the thing. Like, those things were made by people with big nose, small hats that were immigrants over here. It's not traditionally American. I agree. We should feed bugs to kids. Okay. You said authoritarians are good. Now you're saying we need to question it. Yeah, just like we need to question any government. We need to have the right to question it. Something can be good, but you question it. I believe in God. I think God is all good. I still question. I still search for truth. Thank you for the roses. Thank you for the roses. I appreciate it. Going through all these comments. Now, if anybody wants to join in, have a conversation on any of these topics, feel free to send in a guest request. Now we're in the part of the show where we're answering questions and interacting with all the guests on TikTok. It's a constitutional republic. Yeah, but it's been slowly chipped away. Just go and lay your hands down on a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Right. I mean, we have common music, TV shows, food. Yeah, your music, your TV shows are all made from people that aren't American. Your food doesn't really come from America. The celebrities were all made by non-Americans. Look up what Ben Franklin had to say. No, it won't last much longer. It was made by Asians. Oh, and knowing nothing about the world. You are way too focused on race, bro. I'm not. I mean, like, it is an important part of life. Like, we need to be conscientious of it because there is a significant, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Lack of historical knowledge is why Second Amendment is being challenged. Yeah, that and just pure brainwashing. Barbecuing is American culture. Probably. I don't know if they barbecue in other cultures. America is way more cohesive than many countries. Turkey, for example, is splintered way more. I don't know that I agree. I don't know that I agree at all with that. That's why America is divided, so focused on race and how people look. No. It's actually backwards. What you're saying, America's so divided because they're trying not to focus on those things, but then they actually are focusing on those things. I don't think he has much of an idea of what he's talking about. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Where are you from, brother?
What's that?
Where are you from?
I am from the United States of America.
The United States. Yes, very nice.
You?
Do you know Borat?
Where are you
You
from?
know Borat? No, it's seriously question. You know this? Seriously question. Can you answer, please?
What's the question?
Yes, this is the question. You know Borat?
Yeah.
Yes. What you know about Borat?
Well, I just know the movies. I know that he made some movies and that.
This is a movie, you know. Okay. But excuse me, you look like.
You think I look like him?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm not nearly as funny as he is.
Very funny.
So is that all you had to
You must
say?
agree.
I don't know.
You must agree that this is funny.
It is
Hey,
funny.
You must agree.
I mean, I think it's funny, but I mean, is that all you had to say? I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Very nice. Nice joke.
All right.
You know, Rush B. You know, Rush B, suka.
Okay.
Yes, you know this Counter-Strike?
The Counter-Strike. What are you talking about?
Yes. You must Rush B, suka.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, this is complaining. What? You know this English word, complaining.
Yes.
I don't know.
All right. I could barely understand him. And yeah, that was kind of weird. Apparently I look like Borat. So let's see if I miss any other things in here. They lied to us, the globe too. Earth is flat. Biggest delusion to make us believe. You know, Johnny 011, you might be right. I'm not sure what shape the earth is, but I do not buy the globe narrative at all. I don't. I really, really don't. Albanian. I don't know what you're talking about. Crawling king snake. I just don't. How are the big nose, small hat people not considered the same as Italian, Irish, and English from Europe according to your definition? Well, first off, big nose, small hat isn't an I can't even speak right now. An ethnicity. They're not a race. They're a religion. So very different. Can't get over big nose, small hat and how people didn't catch that. I just can't. Satire. I know it's supposed to be funny. Like we're supposed to be able to joke about these things, you know. That's what will heal the nation is being able to joke about this thing. Still doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense? They're not a nation. They're not an ethnicity. They're a religion. A religion is not an ethnicity. It is not a race. They're way different. Nobody goes around saying, I'm Christian. That's my race. So you got to be a certain religion, thought that was the purpose of the founding. What are you talking about, Matthew? However you pronounce that last part. What are you talking about? Nobody made a claim that you had to be a certain religion. I'm saying that religions can't be race. They're separate. They're two different things. So your question about the big nose small hats, how they're different from the British, the Irish, and other European nations, is because they're not a race. They're a religion. They're a religious tribe. Nobody goes around saying, I'm Christian. That's my nation. I'm Christian. That's my ethnicity. When you do a DNA test, they don't ever look for Christian. They don't ever look for Muslim. I said culture, Irish culture, Italian culture. What about it? I mean, so you're arguing against your own argument. No, like, you got to be specific in what you're asking, my man. Because you're asking a bunch of different things. I mean, if you want to come on here and have a conversation, maybe we clear up some of this miscommunication that we're having. Awesome. So now I have to go back and see exactly what you were saying, which I'll do, right? So how are they not considered the same? They have different cultures. You're saying they're one group and also not one group. I never made the claim that they're one group. I said that when they came over here, they had similar cultures. There was a bunch of overlap in the cultures, but they even stayed within their own communities too. You understand that, right? There were like German neighborhoods. There were Italian neighborhoods. They didn't go into each other's neighborhoods. No. And if I did say that, I misspoke, because I definitely did not say they're one group. If we're talking about the Irish, the Italian, all of that. Definitely not. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but if I did, misspoke, because they're not one group. They have different cultures. They have their own way of life. And then what you were saying is that they came over here from there was multiple countries that came over here. You named the groups that controlled the world. What you're talking, dude, you got to come on here, because I don't know what you're talking about. Now you're talking, like, what are you talking about? I don't know all the groups that control the world. I named you a small amount that are kind of known. And what is Asian NATO? Yeah, so NATO has invited South Korea, Japan, New Zealand, Australia to the NATO summit. And so there's speculation that there's going to be a NATO and the Asian Pacific, which will then probably provoke war with China. Because who knows? Maybe NATO will say, Taiwan, you want to join? The same way they did with Ukraine. The same thing, a similar thing that happened with Ukraine. What if the tyranny was you? What if the tyrant was you? Yeah, so I think everybody has a tyrant. Guy is owning himself. Dude, I don't know what you're talking about. If you're talking about the controllers of the world, I said that we don't know exactly who they are, but there's, some people think that it's the Masons. Some people think it's the Jesuits, Catholics, maybe, small hat, big nose. What else? The Illuminati, right? The hidden hand, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them, right? The central banks, like who really, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, all these people, like who really knows who runs this show? Nobody really knows that. That was my point, and that has nothing to do with what you were saying. No, you said some people like Germans are a part of the culture of this country, but not the J words. So now you're touching on so many different things. Be consistent. Like, why don't you just write one concise comment summarizing everything that you're trying to convey right now in your multiple comments? Then I'll address it properly. Def not Biden and Trudeau calling the shots. Oh no. NATO was the most important alliance since the Allies in World War II. You would be the guy against that. How is NATO the most important alliance? It's all the same thing. Dude, why don't you just give me a one comment, concise version of what you're trying to say? Skull and Bones, Disney, the Little Rascals, Boy Scouts. They're everywhere. Yeah, I forgot about the Skull and Bones. For sure. Disney. I mean, hey, Disney was best friends with one of the German people in World War II whose name started with an N. I don't even know if I can say that word on here. And the person that starts with an N apparently was one of the creators of NASA. That's interesting. Ukraine is getting much needed support to defend against Russia. You are with Russia. Dude, they're losing to Russia. You're wasting your tax dollars giving money to Ukraine. It's insane. It's insane. Let Russia have the territory. Stop provoking. Everything will be cool. It would. It would be much better than where we're in now. The Western world's losing. I mean, the sanctions aren't working in our favor. Ukraine isn't working in our favor. And none of that's working in favor of us. It just isn't. So, like, why would you want to keep supporting something that's already lost? We've given up. I mean, there's so much territory that's lost in Ukraine. There's no getting it back. Nobody thinks that they can get it back. Realistically, nobody thinks they can get it back. And the only reason it's still going on is simply to use that as a scapegoat. Yeah, this guy's an absolute joke. Very little has been lost. I don't know if you guys are trolls or not. Like, because it's objectively true what I'm saying. Anybody who's paying attention and looking for truth literally will see what I'm saying. Like, it's all out there in the open. There's a good YouTube channel that's been covering this, like all the minutia, all the little battles won, all the territory Russia's taken over. It's called Military Summary. Russia literally just missed the loan payments and are subject. They are not. M-Town 08022. That's so wrong. That's so false. That's a false narrative perpetrated or spread by the West. What actually happened is the sanctions froze their bank accounts in the United States and Europe, so they can't make the payment. So it's like saying you have a mortgage, and the same bank that gave you the mortgage froze your bank account, and then they default you on your mortgage because you're not paying. But whose fault is it that you're not paying, even though you have the money in there? It's the bank's fault that you're not paying the mortgage back. That's the exact same thing that's taking place with Russia's default. They did not default on the debt. This is a joke. They're paying their debt everywhere else. Everywhere else. Only eastern Ukraine, that's already controlled by Russians, is Russian. Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. The guy's views all over the map. Oh, he watched the YouTube channel. Yeah, we should let Germany do its thing too. Hey, bud. No, totally different situation. Not even a fair comparison whatsoever. Putin is a much more pragmatic, calm leader than Mr. Mean Mustache. He's a much better leader, too. He's a very patient leader, and he's doing a great job. So the sanctions are working. The sanctions aren't working. They're hurting American investors. You guys don't understand this. The people who took out the bonds from the sovereign debt were like, yo, we can make some money because Russia's good at paying their debt. So we're going to take those out. So the investors in America and in Europe, the European nations, are getting screwed because of the sanctions. They're hurting the West. They're not hurting Russia. Russia's ruble keeps going up. Russia's their income keeps going up. Their oil production keeps going up. BRICS, people now want to start joining BRICS. You have Iran, Argentina joining BRICS. They make up 40%, the BRICS nations as they are right now, 40% of the world's population, 30% of its GDP. Russia is thriving during these sanctions. Russia and Ukraine is on the same team by design. I don't think they're on the same team. I don't think everything's by design either. I'm not one of those guys. You just said sanctions aren't working on Russia. They're not working on Russia. They're hurting the West. They're not working on Russia. Like, what don't you understand? China is making an alternative system to SWIFT. Russia is working on an alternative system to SWIFT. Like, dude, BRICS nations are going to become way more powerful than Western nations. And the sanctions aren't helping. As a matter of fact, they're making it worse for the West because it's going to come a time when China and Russia will be imposing sanctions on the West. He just said Putin is doing a great job. He is. Wow, everything you're saying is absolutely ridiculous. Our politicians are just funneling our tax dollars through Ukraine. That too. I don't know what I'm saying that is ridiculous. Everything I'm saying is like very, very logical and factual. Yep, they're all making their own currency, eliminating the dollar. Exactly. Some people in here get it. Some people in here by design to bring New World Order and digital currencies. Digital currencies are already here, my man, and digital currencies aren't necessarily a bad thing. Cryptocurrencies offer a lot of decentralization alternatives to list the contradictions. List them. Like, instead of being in the comment section, come on here, point out my contradictions. We can have a good conversation. You are speaking the truth. I know, and this is why a lot of people get upset with what I'm saying. Russia is selling their resources at a discount to bring money to their country. So you know more than the entire NATO alliance? What about the small hat, big nose? You support Russia slaughtering civilians in Ukraine? What about Ukraine doing the same thing to its own civilians? Folks better wake up. 300K NATO troops in the U.S., 100. Exactly. I covered that yesterday. Shelby Vol, or Shelby Vol, however you pronounce your name. I covered that yesterday. Literally covered that yesterday, and I covered how NATO is now inviting Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, Australia to their summit, which is leading China to believe that they're going to be forming an Asian NATO alliance, which could lead to what? Provoking the Chinese into war. So the J culture isn't the real U.S. culture, even if they are literally Irish, English, German, Spanish. Well, they have their own kind of culture. They do. They do have their distinct culture. They do. They do. I've already stated that. They have their own culture. Religions can have their own culture. Brazil has also been true. They do. Yeah, they have their own. And it's played a huge, it's been the most influential culture in America and a lot of the world. It's not a contradiction. More of an ethnic group. No. Muslims have their own culture. Religions can have their own culture. Religions can have their own culture, as I've already stated. There's nothing contradicting about that. Brazil has also been part of the emerging markets for a long time, big guy. Yeah. Okay. And what's your point exactly? Like, the US dollar's falling. It's still the best currency, like the best fiat currency you could have, for sure. 100%. Folks need to study. Yeah, I mean, there's one. Contradictions because you said it isn't standard U.S. culture. It isn't. They are the ones that literally invented the American dream. They invented Hollywood. They were very upset at the fact that they weren't allowed into the financial institutions because they mainly came over during World War II, after World War II. I've never seen such an uninformed person on this app. Yeah, I mean, they came over in like the 1940s, 1920s, 1940s, World War I, World War II time. Yeah, and then they made the idea of the American dream. They're the reasons why you have the Grammys, the Oscars, Universal, all basically movie productions. They're a group, but not a group. Never said they're not a group. You must be a Trump supporter. Nope, definitely not. Not a big Trump fan at all. I voted for him in 2016 because I thought he was pretty based, and I was all for a lot of the things that he supported. I like the fact that he questioned a lot of things. No, they are a group. They're not a race. They're not an ethnicity. I'm not going to keep going back and forth with you. This is annoying. So you credit Brazil's culture, but not Portuguese culture. I don't know what you're even talking about now. You said that they are and aren't a group in the same argument. No, they are. Like, you could be a group, but you don't have to be a race to be a group. You can be a group without being a nation. You can be a religious group. You could be a basketball team, and that's a group. I don't get where this is going. You say crazy, unhinged nonsense stuff like most Trump supporters. I mean, that's a very broad generalization. You literally said their culture has been influential on the world. It has. Fact. Yeah. I don't know where your guys' I really don't know if you're trolling me at this point, but it's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we are. Yeah. Yeah, we are. They have been extremely influential on the world. They have. They've been banned from a lot of countries as well, too. Host is all over the map, plenty of words, not a coherent argument at all. Do you support Trump? No, not a big Trump fan at all, especially after Operation Warp Speed, especially after he caved to the whole sniffle, and cough debacle. Not a big fan. What's your stance on abortion? Against it. Although I am generally against it. So how do you credit Brazil but not Portuguese when Portuguese gave the Brazilian their culture? I don't know enough about, I can't argue that because I don't know anything what you're talking about. I don't. So I won't even make a comment on that. I don't know. Anyone defending Russia is not mentally stable. So that's your argument. That's your argument of you. I'm not even supporting Russia. You're insane. You would be one of the fools. I'm not supporting Russia. I can say that Putin's doing a good job in the war. I can say that Russia's doing a good job, but it doesn't mean I'm actively supporting and hoping that they win. I mean, I think it would be better if they did win because, George Soros openly stated that Russia and China are a threat to globalism. So that's huge. So I think Russia and China are for sovereignty, for the nation, which is a good thing. The argument is you won't acknowledge diverse American culture, but you're acknowledging, colonialization happens, culture of another Western country, George Soros, here we go. Yeah, I mean, and you don't even have to point out George Soros. You can just look at what is the agenda of NATO, what is the agenda of America, and it's to globalize. It has been for a long time. Yo, Silverbugs, you're going to have to come in here, dude, and tear up this chat because they're insane. So you can already see that NATO and the Western powers are for globalism. Russia, China, not so much. Don't you feel bad for Ukrainians? I mean, I feel bad for people that are caught, for innocent individuals that are caught in the warfare because of the poor decisions their leaders have made. Yes, for both sides. 100%. It really sucks that innocent people have to perish because of the stuff that's going on. However, war is a natural thing. It takes place. Bro, beg you change the color of your background. It hurts my head. I don't know how I can. I mean, I'd have to go and redo this all over. So bright. Well, lower your brightness, bro. Lower your brightness. So Russia's for preserving the nation. China's for preserving the nation. You lower your brightness. Like, I don't think it's going to help if I put my phone on any kind of additional mode. I don't think it's going to help. Doesn't help. All right. Okay. Just because China and Russia are against globalism doesn't make them the righteous brother. I never said they were. You guys are conflating things. I said that they are, I agree more with their stance in that regard, right? I'm for nations. I'm not for globalism. So in that regard, I agree with them, but I don't want to be China or Russia. I don't. I appreciate the Chinese culture. I like to learn a lot about their history. You have to respect a culture that's been around for 5,000 years. How can't you? And Russia, they're based on a lot of things. Yeah, I get that. So, it's not like I'm saying they're righteous. It's not like I'm over here saying all hail Putin or all hail Xi Jinping, but they are better leaders than our leaders. They have better cultures than our current American culture. They do. They have a stronger nation than the American nation. They do. They have stronger militaries. They have more cohesion. They do. But it's not like I'm going to go run over to China and Russia and live there. I wouldn't want to. I want to stay here in the U.S. I don't know. We've flirted with the idea of maybe moving to a different country, but that's probably not going to happen. I'm with NATO and you're with Russia, so hopefully we meet on the battlefield, coward. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I really hope not. I don't want to be in the battlefield. I don't. I think war is natural. I think that it happens, but for the most part, I'd stay out of wars, man. If you can, if they're avoidable. Like this one, I would never fight for Russia. I would never fight for that. You identify as Puerto Rican, so not sure how you have the grounds of talking about nationalism and being American. Okay. I mean, there's a bunch of mutts in America. I've already stated before that America is a fallen nation. It's a failed state. I think that Puerto Rico should be its own nation. I've never been to Puerto Rico, though. I'm Puerto Rican and I'm European as well. I'm mixed. My mom's comes from a bunch of different European countries, and my dad's side is full-blooded Puerto Rican. My kid is 18 and so much smarter that y'all, okay? Only people who have witnessed senseless violence want war. Who have never witnessed. Exactly. Just like the person who's never been in a street fight thinks that he can handle himself in a street fight. They have these fantasies about what they'll do in a fight, and then they get into a fight and they lose, and they are totally, their worldview is totally shifted. It's the same thing. Like anybody trained for combat typically doesn't want it because they know all the things that come with it. I don't want that. I have a wife, I have kids. I want us to live long, healthy, peaceful lives. I hope everybody can have that, but not everybody will have that. This is just the reality of the world. I am a very I'm grounded in reality for the most part. There's some things that I'm probably blinded to, just like everybody else. Listen to this fool praising Putin. How can you defend him? Let's change topics. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys want to talk about? We can talk about anything. What's this about bugs? Yeah, so in Welsh, they're starting to introduce a couple different bugs to children to eat as an alternative protein source. And they're also doing this with plant-based meals as well. They're targeting specifically 5 to 11-year-olds. And Canada is becoming one of the biggest insect farmers in the world. They're on pace to make, a company over there is going to be making 2 billion insects for human consumption. And it's a growing industry. And so this is some will say an agenda. I tend to agree with the fact that it's an agenda because there's been an agenda to radically shift our diet away from the natural human diet, that being animal-based products. I've heard bugs are the future of protein. Yeah, but they're not. I mean, there's no way, we already know that these places like Beyond Meat are lying about their nutritional value. They're being, there's a lawsuit against them for fraudulently putting their protein almost several times higher than was actually in there. And there's probably no real protein in there either. Where did you find out about the scenario? Western-based media websites? I mean, it's all over the place. It's multiple sites. Some Western, some non-Western. Yeah. Bugs are just extra protein, and that's a good thing. I don't know. I mean, I know cultures and, other people have used it in a time of dire need. But that's the other thing too. Bugs aren't a staple. They're like a supplement if you can't get real good meat. And they don't look very appealing either. I'd try a bug nugget. Be my guest. So you are utilizing Western media for understanding of this new bug technology. In part, yes. You don't know exactly. Stop there. Because you said before this, you can't trust Western media. You can't. You got to be very skeptical of it. You have to. But it doesn't mean that they're lying all the time. It just means that you can't default trust to them. Like a liar can tell the truth, but I can still not trust the liar. But he could end up telling the truth. And then I'll have to admit that he told the truth. I don't understand why this is so hard to understand. Do thinks everything is a part of an agenda. I literally said in the beginning that I'm not one of those guys that thinks a lot of things are by design. I think that certain things just happen. And we're not skeptics about schools feeding bugs. No, I mean, this has been talked about for quite some time, and there's multiple sources that are verifying this, although I haven't seen it myself. I think the bug protein is good plan B idea to research. Let's try plan A first, though. LOL. Right. Like, I think plan A is animal-based products. You don't need to go to plan B. I think plan B is to try to get humans off of animal-based products and then slowly introduce them to plant-based meats, and then they'll get their quote-unquote real protein from insects, which we're not even really sure how much protein and nutrient. And so that's the other misconception as well, that animal-based products like meat is just good for protein. That isn't true. Meat has a lot of vitamins in it, a lot of vitamins. Like liver is very high in vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin B12, I believe. So we don't know if these bugs have the same nutritional value as animal-based products do anyway. Bugs have a lot of protein, but you would need to eat a lot of them. Yeah, so they don't have a lot of protein. They have little protein if you need to eat a lot of them. Okay, so Jan 6, I'm pretty sure your thoughts on that. You fall in line with Trumpers, with most Trumpers. Yeah, so it's a hybrid event that took place at January 6th. It's a hybrid event. Partially organic, partially non-organic. I'll leave it as that. And there's a lot of deception behind it. Meat and bug protein can be made anywhere. Plant proteins need a perfect. You can't get protein from a plant. You can't get much nutrients from a plant whatsoever. Our body isn't designed to convert the nutrients that are in plants. I don't like the idea of eating bugs for sustenance, but bug research is interesting. Yeah, for sure. Yep, it was all Antifa, right? You're definitely trolling me because I literally just said that it's a hybrid event. Some of it was organic, some of it was non-organic. So yeah, some of it Antifa, some of it not. Some of it was Trump supporters who thought that they were doing a good thing. Yeah. That was the whole thing. It was, and those are usually the best things to have is a hybrid event, because then it makes it difficult to really, really know what's going on. Let's hear about Asian NATO. What's that? Yeah, so we talked about this quite a bit earlier. It's just basically the NATO country. So NATO has invited Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, and Australia to a summit for the first time ever. And China is concerned that this would be an issue because of what happened with Ukraine. All right, let somebody on here. What's going on, Reaper Airsoft?
Yo, how's it going? My name is Quandale. I just want to let you know my pronouns are cat/it/queef-nugget, and I queef and sup.
I don't know why we have these trolls coming on as guests. I mean, if you guys want to have a good conversation, I'm willing to let you on. I heard Sweden is a neutral country currently. Yeah, they're not. They're not. They do, which is not good for them. A lot of people are upset about that. Switzerland as well. I think Switzerland is no longer neutral, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look that up really quick. It's not good for them at all. Switzerland not neutral anymore. Yeah, Switzerland is also not neutral, which is going to hurt them greatly. I think it's going to have it's going to allow for Saudi Arabia to thrive because they offer, I think, a similar kind of banking system as Switzerland. What's going on, Minto92 from Russia? I believe that's the Russian flag. How's it going? How's it going? You guys are really kicking butt. The country is. Finland and Sweden fear Putin, so they join NATO. Way to go, Putin. They didn't join NATO. I think the Turkish president is holding that up, if I'm not mistaken, unless something has changed in the past couple of days. Let's see. According to UNLAWS, Russia has claims to invade most of Europe. I don't know about that. Nope, they are joining. I'm looking it up right now. I don't know that they are because I thought that the Turkish president was holding that up. It says that they're on the cusp of joining. It doesn't say that they're joining. So NATO formally invites Finland and Sweden to join. We'll see. So it says it's set to join. So this was 8 hours ago. Okay. So 8 hours ago. We'll see how it goes. Not really sure you can predict what Russia is up to. Yeah. I think it's very hard to make those kind of predictions. I really, they may go after Lithuania next just because of the blockade into Kaliningrad, right? They can attack anyone that supports Ukraine with weapons, but they most likely won't. They won't, I think, because Putin is very patient and strategic. Sorry, I meant Switzerland, but yeah, Sweden is normally neutral as well. Yeah. And so it's going to hurt Switzerland big time. It's going to really hurt Switzerland big time. They had a lot of benefits to being neutral. Now that they're not neutral, a lot of countries are going to be pulling their money from there. A lot of wealthy people from other countries are going to be pulling their money from there. And a lot of people aren't going to want to do business with the West because we're so bad at keeping our contracts. We're so bad at keeping our word. So, yeah, Russia will run out of resources. No, they won't. That's insane. They will not. Russia is an industrial powerhouse. Dude, move to Russia. I don't want to move to Russia. I don't. I want to stay right here in the U.S. where I be. I think the Russian country has a lot going on for it. They're going to be very successful. A lot of people pulled out of Swiss banks a few years ago when they stopped anonymous banking. Did not know that. Very interesting. Thank you for that tidbit. I didn't know that, what happened with Russia. A lot of people were pulling their money from Russia and then starting to, I believe it was Dubai. It was a Middle Eastern country for sure. And the Muslims, they have awesome, the Muslim countries have awesome economic views because they're against usury, as am I. I think that's that's the thing. Like Christians and their, our Bible, it doesn't necessarily say to be against it because it says you can do it to foreigners, but you shouldn't do it to yourself, your own people. But I think overall, it's not a good thing. To make usury, for those of you who are unaware, it's basically interest rates on debt. So you lend the money out, and then you have to pay interest on it. Ask him, he admires Putin and wants them to win. Okay. The Lone Wolf 95. I mean, what do you do, dude? I mean, if you seem to have a strong disdain for this. If you don't have, usually there's no profit for a lender and makes no sense for them. Yeah, and I'm against it. I don't think that you should be profiting from it. I don't. I know, right? James Base God, you get it, bro. You get it. You get it, my man. You get it. That's why I mentioned the Bible. The Bible doesn't say that you can't do it, but the Islamic culture is really based in that regard. Then nobody would be in business and there would be no loans. False. Look at the Islamic economies. The Islamic economies don't allow for usury, and they're doing well. Look at Saudi Arabia, my man. Lone Wolf 95 trolls everywhere on this app. Oh, yeah? Didn't know that. I mean, that he must have a really, really sad life then. You need a major course in economics. No, you just don't understand how immoral usury is and how it destroys an economy. You don't need loans to make, you don't need to make interest from the loans in order to have an economy. You need to have products and services that people want in order to have an economy. Know what's going on? It explains. Probably a bot. It probably is a bot. Probably is. And I've been engaging with a bot. So I'm learning all this stuff as I go, guys. So all of you that are in here liking what I'm saying, we have to figure out how to find out when we're talking to bots. Investments are based on loans. No, they're not. I have investments. None of them are on loans. That's if you want to leverage. Nobody wants to admit they were kicked out of 165. This dude gets it. James gets it. I can assure you I'm not a bot. I didn't think you were a bot. I did not think you were a bot, mayor of social media too. I did not think that. But yeah, like you don't need loans. I assure you I'm not a bot. Everybody's going to start saying that now. And so now the bots are going to come in here telling me that they're definitely not bots. And I'll be like, that's what a bot would say. Seriously, Khazarian Empire Mafia, it explains all the banking and situation in Ukraine. It's long. I don't doubt it. I haven't went down the rabbit hole of the Khazarian mob or anything like that. I haven't. I've been down many of rabbit holes. And sometimes, like at this point right now, as far as the conspiracy things go, I tap out because I feel like I have adequate knowledge of them to know what's going on from a big picture perspective. And then you can read a lot of current events to find out the more niche things and cobble it all together as you go. But you're the second or third person who has told me about this, so I'll have to look it up. It's not a rabbit hole. It's factual. And I know, like, rabbit holes are factual. They can be documentaries, all this stuff. Rabbit hole is just a term when you're going to go do a deep dive into something. So I'm sure it's 100%, are you familiar with institutional investors? I am. And I'm telling you that you do not depend on loans to make investments. This is one form of an economy. And it's a debt-based economy, and it's not good. Silver bugs. I don't know. I'm not talking about loans anymore. Yes. Okay. I was assuming based on what you were talking about before. Yes. I know what institutional investors are, retail investors, all that stuff. Yes. Is there a reason why you're asking? Trump builds us up, made us more independent, and you don't like mean tweets. I mean, Trump did try to make us more independent. He did do that. I was going to ask you if you know what ESGs are. I do. The social governance, the environmental social governance, whatever. Trying the whole green energy, right? For renewable energies and things like that. The woke investments. Yes. I don't like dictators. You do. Silverbugs, are you a bot? Why are you engaging with a bot? Are you trying to find out? Are you trying to find out if he is a bot? Maybe you're doing some research for me. I don't know. Do you understand how they use ESGs to blackmail all businesses and governments, etc.? Yeah, to an extent. I haven't studied it very much, but yes, I do know that there is definitely blackmail. There's definitely things like that being used to push their agenda for sure. For sure. If you want to hop on here and educate us on this some more through conversation, you can. If not, that's cool too. We can keep interacting through the comment sections. Look up ESG scorecards and that will explain it all. All right. Let's look it up right now. ESG scorecards. Right here. So says use ISS ESG's standardized scorecards to assess environmental, social, and governance risk and opportunities in just a few steps. So this is in the EU. Interesting. I'll have to do some more research on that and then maybe do a show on it, talk about it some more. But all right, guys, if there's no more questions, no more topics that we want to discuss, I'm going to get out of here. This is where all the wokeism is coming into these big corporations like Disney. Yeah, part of it for sure. But all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. So be sure to follow MOT Media on YouTube. Obviously, this channel, like, share, subscribe. MOT Media everywhere is where you can find it. And, I'm here Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, doing the Honest Hour. We cover a variety of topics, keeping you informed, giving you different perspectives on things, trying to fill you in with some news that you may have not heard before. And, good talk, man. Interesting stuff. Thank you. Great personality. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. Be here tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, you can catch it everywhere under MOT Media. Much love. Peace. And this one.